is gonna be my last one for the night, but it's gonna be a big one. Like I said, a lot of weird things happen on my mom's side of the family. We've always had things or issues or whatever. Um, I and my grandparents, my mom's side of the family, my grandparents. My granddad was full blood Chickasaw. Actually spoke Chickasaw before he had his stroke. Really interesting man. He's seen a lot, been to war, and didn't talk about any of it. Like that's just he didn't talk about it. But interesting guy, and loved him to death. He was a passionate about being a family man and pretty strict. Can be kind of mean sometimes, just because he had a hard life. Um, and I don't. I mean, you hear rumors that, or like someone once said something about us being native, and that's why we have these experiences or something like that. I mean, who knows? I mean, that could be some truth to that. It could be, just all just BS. But my grandparents lived in this like double wide mobile home out there, and like I said, there was they believed they found an unmarked graveyard out there in the field. um, I remember there were times where at the end of the hallway, uh, so let's see if I can try to explain this. So towards the center there was the living room, and then on, like, if you walk in the front door, you'd be in the living room, and off to the right there'd be the kitchen, and then the master bedroom and the bathroom, and on to the left, you would go down the hallway. It would lead to an office, or I think it was just an office, maybe a bedroom. I mean, this is a long time ago. That mobile home's not there anymore. um, but anyway, there's an office at one point, and a bathroom and a bedroom. And yeah, no, I think it was only two bedrooms, two bath. But anyway, and an office. Um, I remember so so vividly that because down that hallway the washer and dryer was there, and I remember I was going to go down there to go to bed, or I was tired or something, and I remember it being pitch black down there, and there was a door. It was the back door was over there, and that's how you led to the back porch, which led to the basketball court slash tornado shelter they had over there. And that's how big the tornado shelter was. We used it as a basketball court, and so the light would the moon, the sunlight or moonlight would always come in through that little tiny hole or a little window thing in the door. And but I remember, and you can always see the washer and dryer because it was all white, and just reflected light or whatever. But I remember that it was pitch black, and I remember my grandma putting her hand on my chest and said, "Don't go down there right now." And that was it. And I was like, "Okay, why not?" And she would never tell me why. She just don't go down there. It wasn't until like years later that my mom told me that one time she went down there to do laundry, and there was like a ball of light just hovering there, and she told it to go away, and it eventually did, and she continued doing laundry or whatever. But there's times where she went down there and she saw eyes or something, and something looking back at her. I don't know if eyes or what, but something was looking back at her, and she just didn't do laundry that night. And at some point, I don't remember when. I was pretty young. They switched the master bedroom, so no longer was the kids sleeping in the down the hall. We'd be sleeping in the master bedroom, and I never did ask why why grandma and grandpa were sleeping down there now. It was crazy. So as I got older, we moved to Texas, and we moved into this home. I was in fifth grade when we moved in, and our first night in my room. I don't even remember if I had everything set up yet. There was this shadow, this figure, like right outside my window, with a rifle, walking past the window. Scared the hell out of me. And we had a street lamp that shone right onto my bedroom window, and so the shadow was so vivid that I knew that person was right outside my window, right? So I told my dad. My dad runs out there, with a gun, and he's, out there, and he's looking around, and nothing, right? I think I've maybe seen that maybe 2 or 3 more times. And I never told Dad because I thought maybe I was just going crazy or whatever. And we don't really have health issues or anything in our family, other than anxiety, depression. And that's pretty much about it, really. OCD, but and so so I don't know. It's just and I remember I would talk to somebody as I was, going to school and stuff around that time. And I remember hearing ticking, like a ticking, almost like I was talking to the ticking. I remember I had like this little kid table, and it would, like someone was tapping their fingernail on it, to respond to me or something. But that could have been in my imagination, so I don't, kind of wrote that off. But and after that, I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention. Or, I thought maybe it was just my imagination, because I'm a very imaginative person, especially as a kid. But in high school, I was never really home. I was pretty busy in a lot of other stuff, and didn't really just pay a lot of attention to things. So I don't really recall anything in particular. But through the end of high school and through college and stuff, I would always have girls staying the night over or whatever, and they would always complain about having bruises on their hips when they take a shower. Every single one of them. Then after a while, I found out my sister complained about it after a while, and then my mom always complained about getting bruises on her hips in the same exact way. And then, so it's just kind of an odd thing. There was nothing that really came from that, but it was just kind of odd. It wasn't until I started working at FedEx, like late at night, I wake up at like 2:30 in the morning, start getting ready and stuff, and go to work really, really, really early in the morning, get home about 9 o'clock in the morning, then go do my other jobs and go to college. And so I was definitely sleep deprived. That could have been part of it, but I swear to you that there's no way. There's just no way. Like, I know myself. I know I push myself to the limits. There's no way that my brain made this up. There's just, I know it. I know it so well. But there's just a little bit of that in there that I don't know. I was sleep deprived, maybe, just maybe. But there were times where I woke up and my bed was slowly being pulled off of the box spring that it was on. Actually, I don't think it was on a box spring. I think it was just on the metal frame. But it was slowly, and I remember feeling the pull, like it would like pull, slide, stop. And I yank and a pull, slide, stop. And then it would stop. I remember one morning I woke up and I stretched my feet out, and my left foot dropped into like this kind of crevice or whatever, and I kind of felt around. I felt the end of the bed. I felt around the part of the bed being pushed down, and then it was like if someone was sitting there and then stood up. They just lifted upwards, and my foot, kind of jumps up a little bit back on the bed, and it was just. I remember, I still to this day remember exactly how it felt. I couldn't see it because it was night. It was pitch black in my room, but just feeling that indention in my bed, I will never forget that ever. I was once my foot fell into that, I immediately woke up, and I was 100% awake. There's no way I was asleep, and I still remember how that felt. And once my foot jumped up, I didn't even crawl out of bed that side. I think at the time I had my dresser against my side of that bed. The bed was pushed into the corner. I pretty much only had one way off the bed, and then I'd walk, along the bed, go around the corner to my door. I literally crawled over my dresser just so I couldn't get on that side, and then my door was right there. I just went straight out to the hallway. And another time, I remember that my that my bed was shaking violently, shaking so violently that I actually had to turn over really slowly and hold onto my bed to keep from sliding off my bed because my whole bed was being shooken, shooken? I don't even know if that's a word. Shaken so badly that that it was being pulled off to one side, kind of like it did before. But this time, like I was at such an angle that I had to basically hold on with both my hands on the other side of the bed just to keep from sliding off or rolling off the bed. And then I waited till the bed was done. I remember climbing up, getting off the bed, like just stayed focused on the getting out of that bed or out of that bedroom. Walked out, and at the time it was my son's mom. We were dating at the time, before before she got pregnant with Jude, and then I remember going down the hallway, and I remember Sarah was in the front room talking to my mom, and hey mom, come here real quick, and she goes yeah. And so we go in the kitchen. I was like, do not have her sleep in my room. And she goes, why? What happened? I was like, I woke up to my bed shaking. And she goes, what? And I was like, yeah, don't let her sleep in my room. Okay, yeah. And so she told Sarah to go ahead and sleep on the couch. And Sarah didn't understand, and I told her later. But yeah, it was just. But all these things happened like a very far stretched amount of time, right?
Yeah.
So fast forward, and there was other things, but I mean there were nothing too crazy or whatever. There was just those most crazy stuff. I mean we've all heard things. We I guess to give a little bit of context, when we moved into this house, we knew that a Mr. Malone, which was his name, he passed away in that house, and that his widow is the one who sold the house. And mom, I think mom and dad are the only ones that met her. But we always say, oh, Mr. Malone's, at it again, because we'd hear things moving around or like doors opening and stuff, and like, just weird noises. Sometimes, I don't think I've ever heard it, but I think Kaylee said she heard like someone walking down the hallway a few times or whatever. I never heard it, but she said, that's what she said she heard. So anyway, so I'm going to fast forward through all that. And so around the time that I was, we're doing the whole custody thing, and I was pretty all messed up over that. It's my first kid and everything, and me and Sarah weren't in a good place at all, and I was still pretty scared and worked up about it. I actually I wasn't seeing Jude, and it was really, really devastating me, and I wanted to, but I wasn't allowed to, I guess. And we, like I said, we got in a fight, and I couldn't see him anymore, and it's been a while, like a few months, and I was really upset, and so to be able to cope with that, I just played Minecraft. That's all I did. I didn't want to hang out with anybody. I didn't want to talk to anybody. Didn't want to do anything. All I did was play Minecraft, and I got really focused in building this massive castle, overly detailed. I'm a big history person, so I wanted everything to be like a castle, like everything that a castle would have would be in that. And like I put in like 3 months of work into this thing, which is why I hate playing Minecraft now, because I put so much time into it, just in such a small amount of time. I was actually on Skype with a friend, and we were talking about stuff and like Jude and all the situations and all that and the fighting, and started talking to her, and I remember looking to my left, and I was sitting at my TV. I was using my TV as a monitor, and I was sitting on a chair, just all legs all folded up, just relaxed, and I remember looking to my left, and I thought I saw smoke. And it was white. It wasn't black or anything. It was all white. And I remember it hurt my head to look at it. I remember I felt like my eyes were crossing looking at this thing. And I was there staring at it. She's watching me play Minecraft or whatever, talking. And she's like, what's the matter? And I'm not saying anything. I'm just staring at this thing. I'm just so confused. And she's like, what's going on? I remember telling her, I think my house is on fire. But I never got up. I just looked at it, and then it like kind of, I don't know, it kind of like came together in a way, like not like it formed. It was almost like it was like that the entire time, but I didn't see it that way. But it looked like a shape of a person, like almost like they're almost like sort of standing, like they're leaning in towards where I can see them from the hallway, and like they turned to look at me, and almost like to like someone was walking down the hallway, stopped and like kind of turned to look at me as they're about to turn the rest of the way, go back down the hallway, like they forgot something. And I remember it looking at me, and I could see like where the head was, the shoulders were, where the arm extended downwards, and the hip and everything, and then just turned away. And like I remember my head hurt so bad looking at this thing, like almost like I was looking at something I wasn't allowed to see. Like I was not allowed to see that. And I looked down and I told her, I was like, I think I just saw a ghost. And I kind of explained it to her. I was like, I need to go to bed. Like my head hurt so bad. I felt nauseous. I felt so nauseous. And so I went to bed. Um, and around this time, like we didn't really have a lot of interactions with Mr. Malone. My theory to this is, and this is something that I think that the psychic said, was that a lot of electronics it pulls a lot of energy out of the air, or out of the area that you're in or whatever, and it doesn't allow for spirits to collect that energy to manifest themselves or pull themselves into our reality versus their reality, which is tinfoil hat, on your head, kind of. Who knows? But I always kind of had a feeling that, the more electronics we have in a house, the less like you're going to have any kind of weird interactions with the paranormal or whatever, if you believe in that. And so the more electronics we would get, I had my computers, my sister had her computer, my dad, his company was giving him more computers to do, because he's a chemist, and he did like all these equations and stuff or whatever, analyzing this and that, whatever. And so you had to have different kind of equipment. And the more and more our house built up more electronics, the less and less likely we had any kind of weird things happening or things sliding off tables or whatever. And so just for that to happen all at once was just insane. And so anyway, I went to bed. And about like a week later, I finally told Mom. I was just kind of telling her, like it was just weird, and I didn't know what to do with this information. Right? I didn't, maybe I'm kind of losing it. I mean, I was kind of stressed out, and so it very well could just be me, like just so stressed out about custody and all this other stuff, and maybe I'm losing my head a bit. And she was pretty shocked, and at first I thought she was scared, for me. But then she said, "I saw that too." And I said, "What? That night? You were in bed. You went to bed early." And she goes, "No, not that night." She said it was like a week before. She said I was actually sitting right here in this couch I'm sitting at, or the chair that I'm sitting right now, and I looked towards the kitchen. We had like this little opening in the kitchen, and she looks through that opening, and just happens to turn and see. And she said she saw the same exact thing of a silhouette of a man, but almost like you're looking at like dense white smoke, almost kind of like has its own illumination in a way. I don't know, it's just really hard to explain. I can still see it, I just don't know how to explain it. She said I felt weird, it gave me a headache, I felt nauseous, like I was looking at something I wasn't supposed to look at, and then it turned and went away, and it was almost like it just kind of disintegrated, like smoke almost, but not outwardly. I don't know. And it was just to hear someone else said that, who wasn't dealing with the great amount of stress that I was dealing with at that time, say the same exact thing that I saw, and like I think I didn't even describe to her that it did seem kind of like it was bright. So to her to say that to me before I even had a chance to say that to her was like, I don't know, just like clarification to me that, and if my mental state was in question, what about her? She saw the same exact thing I said without me, really influencing her, other than telling her that it looked like smoke pulled into a person. There's so many things. It's just like, I don't know, like it's insane. Like what I saw, I'll literally never ever see again. I know that, like the amount of the percentage of how many people probably saw that. It's probably pretty low, and I know I'll probably never see that in the rest of my life. See anything like that. It's just so low in the percentage of how often you could see something like that. It's just so low. I probably never see it again. Um, but I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's crazy. Uh, with all that said, with everything that I've said, it scares me with my kids. They said certain things, or looked at corners of walls and stuff. In our old place that we lived in where we live now, in the town that we live in now, the first place we lived in, there wasn't anything that really popped up, or anything that the kids said certain things or whatever. I would always feel like I saw something move in the corner of my eye. Um, at one point, my daughter said something that kind of stuck in my head, that okay, maybe there is something here. And I remember walking to the kitchen once my wife at the time went to work, and I knew my daughter was still asleep. And I remember saying, I have a guardian who watches over me and my children. Leave this house. You are not welcome here. Get out. I don't know you. I don't want to know you. Do not tell me your name. Leave. And after that, nothing. Ayana's, because there for a while, the dream catcher stopped working. Her night terrors started getting really bad again. And I moved the dream catcher over her again. And then a Jew wasn't having him anymore. And that helped too. But like, just certain weird things she would say, and like weird things would happen throughout the house stopped. And then after that, it was like, just a normal house again. But at that point, it was getting kind of noticeable. Before, it was kind of like, oh, yeah, it could have been me, or it could have been, just something moving in the corner of my eye, but it, could easily have been something else or whatever. Like, it was getting to the point where I was like, okay, maybe something is going on here. But that could have influenced myself, just looking for an answer. But after I said that was it. Like, I didn't see anything, didn't hear anything, because I could have swore I heard walking in one night. I never did say anything to Angel, but yeah, that's pretty much it. All these things I don't normally talk about. It takes a lot out of me. It takes a lot of energy to talk about this stuff. A lot of this really bothered me for a long time. Scared me. Still scares me. I was invited to haunted houses and stuff like that, and for years I wouldn't go. Just nothing scares me more than ghost stuff.
I can promise you, haunted houses are nothing like this shit. I've been to so many haunted houses because Lamar likes to go. They are the most ridiculous. The only thing that's scary in haunted houses are jump scares.
No, that's not the kind of how. Not like theme park
Oh,
stuff.
you mean actual haunted
Like
houses?
actual people
Like
there. You're
oh,
not
come
supposed to
here
be
and
there.
yeah.
You have to climb over a metal chain link fence and then
Yeah,
sneak into the
I
place.
understand what you're saying. I thought you meant like Halloween haunted houses.
Now, as a graffiti artist for many years, sneaking into abandoned places and stuff, I've bumped into drug addicts. I've been chased, away. I've been threatened to be killed before. I've been shot at. Been around, homeless people who are actively crazy. Being aggressive and stuff. And there's times when I've heard things, and but there was anything that really popped up that nothing. I mean, it was scary. It was definitely some like, there was definitely moments where I'm like, I had to immediately stop, painting this mural I was doing and be like, we have to go. I tell my spotter, hey, we got to go, and I can't explain why. I just told him we have to go. We have to go. We have to leave right now. There was no cops or anything at the time. There was no drug addicts or anything. It's just, I don't know. There's just something dark that was around, and I just felt so heavy, and I was like, we have to leave. And came back, a couple nights later, finished what I was doing or whatever. But But there was nothing like really. I mean, there's like loud noises sometimes, which literally could have been anything, but nothing that could really, I don't know, like just other than your casual creepy stuff who easily could have been an animal or homeless person or whatever. But yeah, it was so there's some scary moments there too. But it was more in the atmosphere, I think. But still, um, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I said, that's not everything, but that's pretty much the gist of everything. And happy
But
Halloween.
you remember the crazy witch Wiccan shit that I told you about?
Mm-hmm.
They believed a lot of things that they would explain to me, and specifically with spiritual things, like in terms of spirits and ghosts and stuff. What they believed were that that the ability of a spirit or a lingering spirit or ghost or whatever ability to affect people and the world around them was contingent on energy, which they had very little of. And the reason why some people experience these things more than others was because they are attracted to certain types of energy or certain abundances of energy. And so sort of like what they sort of believed is that, like with all things in physics, that take a path of least resistance, wherever they were able to function easiest is where you would see these things happening. So that there was always some sort of correlation there, either to the location or to the person, um, that's how it would happen. So if you happen to have a certain type of energy, which they believe that there were different types, and that certain people that spirits were attracted to certain people because of their type of energy, and they would actually literally feed upon it. So they would use this energy, and then people would experience things, and that which would account for their their activity around their noticeable activity by this person and the person's um, physical effects that they would experience from the interaction with the ghost, like feeling of being held down, drained, um, inability to see straight, function, to get up, sort of paralysis, things like that. These things were the things that the ghost would do to them, not always maliciously. I think often not maliciously in the way that they would say it. Now, again, I don't believe in ghosts. I don't think it's real. And I don't. I don't. I don't know though. I don't know. I'm not. It's not something I can prove. And again, you've had way different experiences than I have. But that's something they believe. So I thought it might be something you might be interested to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Is that they believe that um, that there was a correlation there, and the other thing was so if it's of any comfort at all, they believe that 90% of the time, these things were not attempting to hurt people, that they were just existing. So a consequence of their existence was sometimes that it would have negative effects. Constant presence of a spirit that would be utilizing or feeding off of a person's energy could cause health problems, or um, could cause other issues. That their emotional states would bleed over into the person that they were affecting, various things like that. Um, and so you needed to know how to deal with them whenever this would happen. How to get rid of a ghost, more or less. But another thing that they believed is that this was something that should be done peacefully, not something that you like. There's no reason to attack it because it's not purposefully. They did they the way they idealized this is that it wasn't really a person anymore in sort of any sense of the word. So like
Mm-hmm.
there wasn't like an intelligence, so much an intelligence behind it just sort of a lingering remnant of something that used to be a person that would that is sort of, it could come a little bit closer to that again just by being around energy or people or stuff like that. It's like, but it's very seldom that it's trying to do anything. It's not trying to harm, not trying to do anything like that. As more or less innocuous, but the what do you call it? The side effects of its presence is what people would notice.
Mm.
That's what they believed. Now, the other interesting thing was that the purest form of this, this sort of manifestation was possession. So, allowing such thing to possess your body or your form would allow them to more directly affect you. So it's not like you would necessarily become a different person, but possession, attachment to the body itself, and stuff like that would be. So if the person, you know, was in life violent and angry, you would see a dramatic change in the person's personality towards that, because their personality, like who they were, affects who this person is now, due to possession or attachment to that. And they believe that that while some people were, a very small percentage of people were naturally vulnerable to this, that the vast majority that have this problem are people who are more attentive and attuned to these spirits. And a lot, like one of the things that they warned against, that they'd always say, is like, you never do things like Ouija, never do things like I can't remember what else, but more anything that relies on you to consult with or commune with or rely on someone who has passed, opens yourself to that spirit, allows that spirit to touch you, to connect to you,
Right.
to become part of you. And that is where, and the reason why it's taboo is because of the fact that they believe that this could cause you to have these problems. It could cause you to become not just temporarily, but permanently vulnerable to possession or to spiritual, or if you believe in demons, also demonic attachment, because of the fact that you, and not just one time. So if you were to be possessed and this issue were to be resolved and you could disattach a spirit, you'd be forever vulnerable to it, and not by choice. Like another spirit could attach themselves to you or something like that, without really needing, without much effort, because you did it once. And it's like sort of like leaving a door open, and they believe that. And
That place that my aunt lived in, where that dude went
uh-huh.
crazy, they they would used to get drunk and high and play the Ouija and do a bunch of like random seance and stuff like that, and they think that's why that place got just evil, like just evil. So many people said that place was evil, and even I did after a while. But yeah, like the Ouija board, especially the Ouija board and some other stuff. And that's after that, like my mom was just like, it's like, you don't bring that thing. Like someone bought, I think my sister, a Ouija board. And she's like, you do not bring that in the house. You're gonna throw that away, you know. And I've always just, I don't know, it just always just scared me to be around the thing, around a Ouija board. Just terrified me.
Yeah, based on that, more or less, the way that's one reason why I like. Again, like I'm sort of, you know,
Mm,
I'm sort of I believe that, you know, more or less, that science isn't perfect, but I sort of believe in what can be proven, just in any sense of the word. It's like, so I don't really believe in ghosts and stuff like that, but I like I said, I haven't had those experiences I can't explain that do freak me out. I do get freaked out just like everybody else, and I think that the reason why, another good reason to sort of approach it that way, is because if I am wrong, let's say, you know, my crazy ex-girlfriend and her mother are right, then I am also more protected by the fact that I do not, because apparently people who do not believe in this thing, in those things, do not interact with them or acknowledge them or any of those things, they tend to not really have to deal with them because of the fact that it's not, they can't really interact. Like they don't really feed off of people who do not, um, who do not connect with them in any sort of way. So, like, unless you just happen to be one of those people who is, what they said was, cursed with having very tasty energy, very accessible or abundant energy that just sort of naturally draws them in general. But they said if you, people who don't, like, you know, believe in those things, don't interact with them, do not acknowledge them and stuff like that, it's like, or just, are completely out of, not attuned to them whatsoever, like not so much as that they've thought about this and they made a decision on it, they just never believe that ghosts exist. It's not something they ever thought about. They'll never really experience those things. It's like, so I figure, you know in the event that I'm wrong, and it's all a real thing, then I'm safer still not believing that it's real. It's good to hear some of your stories. And I hope you have fun trying to sleep tonight.
I know, right?
Because now that you've talked about it, now that you've told other people about it, the spirits are going to be more active tonight.
Right.
I'm just kidding, man.